and welcome to another video. And we've got here once again a very hairy ear mixed in with a lot of earwax as well, forming this sort of gigantic matted entwined hair wax mass essentially. And at that time I thought that that was it. I would never see a case as bad as that. And yet here we are again with quite a difficult case. So we're going to have to use a few different techniques here to essentially loosen this blockage up. We're going to have to use a Jobson horn and a St. Bart's hook as well, just to see if we can get some purchase on this. So, and I can't decide whether this is a more severe case or the previous one is. I mean, this is certainly, you know, up there in terms of hairy ears. So what I'll do is I'll link that other video down in the description box below, and you can compare. And if you think that that one is worse or this one is worse, please let me know. So as you can see, this earwax mass is resisting the suction quite well. And in certain cases like this, we are going to use our manual instruments to not necessarily drag the whole thing out, but what we're going to do is use a Jobson horn in this case, which is what this tool is, just to give ourselves a little bit of an opportunity. So as you can see, I'm going in from the side and pushing the wax into the center. So I'm trying to create a gap so that I can slide the Jobson horn in and remove it safely, or rather at least remove some of this earwax mass safely. So I've got a gap now, so I can slide the Jobson horn in, and as you can see I'm doing this sort of sliding motion where I'm pulling the wax in from the left into the center. And this will have two benefits. Firstly, I'll end up removing a little bit, which is of some consequence. But what I'm doing here is actually just loosening up this earwax mass and dragging it forward a little bit to prepare it for the suction. And you can see all of the hair that's intertwined here. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to switch to a hook. And the hook really won't be able to offer me much in terms of removal per se. But what it will do is again just offer me a little bit of position. So, and you can see just all of the hair strands intertwined there. It really is quite remarkable. So, and you may be wondering why this has happened. And I think that this is the product of a very efficient, successful routine by the patient of essentially compressing and compacting everything down. So this is quite typical of somebody who has used either a fingernail or a cotton bud or a hair clip. And I think what's happened is that the wax is built up, and you typically only find hair and wax in the first third of the ear canal, particularly hair. So I think what's happened is that the wax is built up, the patient has instinctively then gone in to clean it, pushed it a little bit down, thinking that the problem is solved. When it's built up again, they've pushed it down, built up again, pushed it down, and slowly over time, they've layered and compacted this very dense mass, which is now right down to the eardrum. And just as a side point, we'll also see what appears to be a little bit of ulceration or a blister, perhaps sort of deeper in the ear canal, which is slightly concerning, but I reviewed the patient a few weeks later after this procedure was done, and those concerning features were no longer there, but it's quite interesting nonetheless. So we have here quite a large chunk of, I want to say wax, but it is mostly hair to be honest. So let's take a good look at it with the endoscope. And you can see here, it is mostly hair, but again, sort of concreted together with a little bit of wax and dead skin. So going in again, this darker piece here, and this is why I think also that it's been layered over a long period of time, because this darker wax here is older. So the darker the earwax, the older it is. So it's been in there for a longer period of time. And this here was proving a little bit more difficult to remove. So what we're going to do is apply a little bit of olive oil, well, a lot, and that should hopefully allow me to slide everything out without causing the patient too much discomfort. So again, we're just stripping away bits and pieces here, and what I'll do is after the procedure's done, I'll show you exactly what's on the tissue, but I'll also show you what's inside the canister as well, because a lot of the debris that we're removing here has sucked in through the tube into the machine and then into the canister. So I'll show you what that looks like. So again, the olive oil has given us a wonderful opportunity to smear up the endoscope, as always. So wiping the endoscope back in, and we can now hopefully drag this last piece out and it'll all kind of draw through the tube. So there we have it. And in cases where you have really impacted earwax like that, it is not uncommon to see a sore ear canal due to not only the consistent pressure of that wax plug on the skin of the ear canal, but also when the patient is trying to dig it out themselves, or when they're chewing and the jaw is moving, causing movement of the ear canal, that wax plug is moving around as well, so causing a bit of abrasion. So we can now take a look at the final product. And there are two areas of mild concern here. So the first is that one. Now, after reviewing this footage, I actually don't think this is a problem. I think that's just a bit of desiccated skin that's wet with the oil, so I don't think that's a problem. And then the little ulcer, or rather blister, down there was of a concern at the time. I rather think it's a blister rather than an ulcer, perhaps. Probably due to friction and pressure of the earwax plug. But as I said, I reviewed this patient a couple of weeks later and those two things were gone. So there's no need for a referral or any medical intervention there. And we can have a look at what's on the tissue. So you can see the Jobson horn and the St. Bart's hook there, and the remnants of the wax and hair that's on the tissue. So we're looking at about 1 centimetre, I suppose, so not hugely significant. And then the good old canister, and there we have a lot smeared on the side as well. That's lovely, isn't it? And there's a lot of water in there because, as always, whenever I exit out the ear canal, I'm dipping the suction probe in a little bit of water and then wiping it with a canal wipe, which is why it looks a little bit misty, just to draw everything through. So I hope you found that video really interesting. I found it very interesting, and it was very satisfying to perform that procedure. And I would be really interested to know which you think is the more severe case of hair and wax impaction. Is it this video or is it the last video? And as I said, I'll link that down in the description box below. But thank you very much for all the comments, questions, subscribing and likes, and I will see you guys on the next video. Take care.